Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Serwick here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, we have our conference finals set in both the NBA and NHL playoffs. I don't know when the NBA conference finals start, but I know tomorrow kicks off the NHL conference finals. But before we get into that, man, I gotta know how you doing this evening, man.
I'm doing good. Dude, it was such a crazy weekend for games and everything. And actually, the NBA playoffs start tonight, the conference finals. Pacers, Celtics tonight.
All right, well, let's get into it first. Let's review that second round of the NBA playoffs, and then we'll get into this into the conference finals here.
Yeah, so this one was crazy. So for Boston, they won pretty easily. So they basically been sitting. Indiana, though, they were playing the Knicks, and I had the Knicks winning the series, but as the series went on, I kept saying, I said this since the start of the playoffs. Tom Thibodeau is a coach where he can't succeed in the playoffs because what he does is he'll play his starters all game, every game, like they have no fatigue at all. And what happens is these players start getting injured. Like the whole Knicks roster was basically in shambles. Like multiple players got hurt in the playoffs that were out for the rest of the playoffs. Their best player, Jalen Brunson, broke his hand in like the third quarter of this game. They just were too thin to really compete. So the Pacers, and let's talk about the Pacers, man. I don't think there's a team on earth who could have beat the Pacers with how they shot in Game 7. They shot 67% from the field. That was an NBA record for any game in the playoffs. It might be all time. I got to check that, but definitely in the playoffs, it was an all time record. That's basically they're making two out of every three shots. Like they're not missing shots. They scored 130 points. Just Pacers just played really well.
They were very, very just well put together in Game 7. I mean, the Knicks almost didn't exist to them. Uh, and part of that was, I mean, the Knicks weren't playing great defense in that game, so I think that definitely helped. But even still, to be shooting that high of a percentage from the field is fucking insane. You don't see that. Even in a normal NBA game, in a regular season game, you don't see that.
hmm Yeah, that was insane stuff. And then on the Western Conference side, we'll go over the Thunder Mavericks first because Thunder Mavericks was definitely interesting. Good matchup between Shea and Luca. The Mavericks, though, they ended up pulling it off as a 5 seed. They beat the number 1 seed. It came down really close at the end. There was, I wouldn't say a controversial call, but a foul called on a shot, which led to free throws for the Mavericks, and that ended up having them take the lead with like 7 seconds left. So Thunder kind of played themselves into a hole there. They're still young. I still believe in them. I thought they would go further, but a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, they're the worst number 1 seed ever." Like they did really bad. Like a couple of those games go the other way, and the Thunder are still in the playoffs. So
And
yeah,
the
it's
thing about
disappointing, but
the thing about the Thunder, man, is they are such a young team right now, and they're only going to get better than they were this year, and they have just a lot of just good things going for them. It's going to become one of those destination teams again, where free agents might want to go there because they have a chance to get a ring there because they have a great young core, and we keep emphasizing it. It's a very young core, and it's only going to get better for them.
yes, sir. And then the most exciting series in a long time, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. So this was on a Sunday night, Game 7, and I was like, I'm staying up. I'm watching this entire game because I'm like, I've been so invested in this series. It's Game 7. We know who's going to come out on top. I have to watch it. And let's just say the game was far from perfect. The team shot horribly. Like you look at the score, you see 98-90, and you're like, oh wow, they actually played some defense. It was a hard fought game. Like, nah. If you watch the game, just everyone was missing shots. No one was making any shots. Anthony Edwards, wow, he came alive in like the third quarter. He had like 4 points at halftime. He was shooting like 1 for 9 at one point. he definitely didn't play as well, but the rest of his team carried him. The role players really stepped up for Minnesota. Even Towns and Gobert, like if anything, Edwards was just non-existent. His team really pulled him through, but he definitely helped towards the end to um, bring them that win. The whole game he was being double teamed. I watched, like I said, I watched the whole game from start to finish, and then the Nuggets side, Jamal Murray was going crazy. He was hitting every shot in the first half. Jokic was doing his thing, more so on the rebounding side. I think he had almost a 20 rebound game. Definitely was up there, and uh, Jamal Murray just didn't really do anything in the second half. He wasn't really shooting. Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. looked awful out there. Jokic, while he was doing his thing inside, he was getting buckets and he was facilitating really well. Again, like Edwards, he was being double teamed all game and he could not hit a three. He was like 0 for 8 or 0 for 9 on threes. Um, he hit a couple towards the end, but the game was kind of already flipping around at that point because the Nuggets at one point they were up 20 in this game. The Timberwolves were going on very streaky runs. They had multiple times where they were going 5+ minutes not scoring any points, and the Nuggets pulled away with Jamal Murray making a ton of shots to end the half, and then they just let them get back into it. They just didn't keep that resiliency on, and like I said, it was just a very awkward game because it wasn't like a bad game, and of course it was low scoring, but just tons of missed shot. And the Timberwolves pull through though, which was really amazing to see because no, they have not had any success in their team's franchise. So moving forward here, one of the four teams left, the best player on that team is going to win their first ring, whether that's Anthony Edwards with the Timberwolves, Luka Doncic with the Mavericks, you got Tyrese Halliburton with the Pacers, or Jason Tatum with the Celtics. So some guy is getting their first ring this year.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting. Finally, some parity in
Mm-hmm.
the NBA, because we've seen over the last decade, really, it's been LeBron and Steph for the most part, and
Mm-hmm.
um, the last few years, we've seen some other teams come in and win, but still, to see four superstars all have a chance at their first ring without Curry or LeBron in here, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens going forward. But let's get into these conference matchups and just talk about what we think is going to happen and how this is going to shake out for the finals.
Yeah, so we'll start out east. I think that the Celtics do end up winning this. I think the Pacers do probably take it to like say 6 games, maybe win both their home games, but then so probably go like Boston, probably go up 2-0. And then Pacers, I hope can match them 2-2. Then Boston will probably win the next two, but if Indiana can steal a game in Boston, that would be huge for them. I like the Pacers, man. Like their offense can score on anyone. It's the defense that concerns me. They're not really a defensive team. They have a good shot blocker in Miles Turner, but their overall team defense scares me. With Boston just being able to throw so many different bodies out there, they're just the best constructed team. The Celtics, they have 5, 6 guys who can just go out there and score, and they also got good defenders who, even though Indiana's offense is crazy, the best team probably for them is going to be Boston to defend them. So I got Boston 6 here. What do you think?
I really like the way the Pacers play offense, but the Celtics defense all year it's been top five. I think I don't think they fell out of the top three defensively. And like you mentioned, they can throw bodies out there, and they're still gonna be a very solid team. And I think Celtics probably in six. I can see this going seven, but I just don't see a way the Pacers are gonna win this series. I kind of see the first four games being split on the road for both teams, so each team's going to get a win and a loss at home in the first four games. And then kind of just from there, I think Boston's going to kind of take over. Um, Boston, I think, is just going to be too much for the Pacers to handle unless the Pacers can find a way to play defense. But um, they're going to have their work cut out for them. But I think the Pacers can definitely steal a game or two. But I just don't see them in any way beating the Celtics right now.
Yeah, I don't either. Which I would love to see Indiana. I actually prefer Indiana to go to than Boston because even though Boston hasn't won with this group, they've been at the top so many times, and I don't really care for Jason Tatum that much. So I wouldn't mind seeing the Pacers go on and do this. So we'll move on to the Western Conference now, where you got the Dallas Mavericks first, the Minnesota Timberwolves. This one, I got to go with Timberwolves in six, man. I really am hoping the Timberwolves win this. I know a lot of people are big Luka Doncic fans and Mavericks, and I do really like Luka, but right now, man, Anthony Edwards is that dude. He is getting the most publicity of any star in the playoffs right now. The Timberwolves are just like the best story. They've never been good. This is only the second time in their franchise that they've got past the second round, and they're in the conference finals now. They've never won a ring as a franchise. They just they deserve it, man. I really do like Dallas, and Dallas, they have that one ring in 2011. Other than that, they haven't won anything else either. It would be cool seeing Luca, but I'm pulling for the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves can get it done. They just got past Denver. If they can get past Denver, they can get past Dallas.
Yeah, I think this Western Conference matchup is going to be probably the most interesting of the two. I think it can really go either way, but the way the Wolves have been playing, defensively as a team all year long has been really, really good. I mean, you showed me that video after game one, I think it was, of just the Wolves' defensive players just, locking down every single player in Denver, and really kind of just showing how just unathletic Jokic really is. But um, yeah, no, it's a great story. They've always been the laughing stock really of the NBA, and I like the way they play. I like defensive basketball, and they play very good defensive basketball, and they got offense to back it up too. So it's not like they can't shoot or anything. I think this is going to go down to the wire. I think this one will absolutely go in seven, and I could see it really go either way. But I'll be pulling for the Timberwolves in this one.
Yes, sir. So I think it's gonna be a Timberwolves Celtics final. And then I'm pulling for the Timberwolves if that happens. If I had to rank the teams based on how much I want to see them win, probably say Timberwolves for sure number one. I'll go Indiana number two, then Dallas three, and then Boston four.
Yeah, it'll be it's gonna be a very interesting finals no matter what, especially because, like you said, we got four superstars that haven't won a ring yet, and they all have a chance now. So it's gonna be very interesting for sure. But yeah, I personally would like to see Indiana beat Boston, of course, but Boston is just such a good team. They're so well rounded on both ends of the court that I don't honestly I don't see anyone beating them. I think they'll win the championship this year, but I really hope they don't because yeah, like you said, they've been so good for so long, forever, and it's just let someone else have a turn.
Mm-hmm.
So that is gonna wrap up your NBA round two review slash preview for the conference finals. So we're gonna slide on over now to the NHL, um, and we're gonna talk some hockey. So we'll start in the Western Conference. We had Dallas versus Colorado, um, and Dallas ended up winning the series 4-2. Um, Dallas was able to pretty much just completely shut down this Colorado offense, except for Game 5 and Game 1. Dallas didn't look all too well together defensively, but Games 2, 3, 4, and 6, they were able to completely lock down Colorado's offense. McKinnon was almost irrelevant in most of those games, and Dallas, one of the best defensive teams all year round. Ottinger was standing on his head though for Dallas. He's not, the greatest. He's the best goaltender left in the Western Conference right now, or even in the second round outside of Demko. But Demko was hurt and didn't play at all. So yeah, I mean, he was the best goaltender in that second round just statistically, and yeah, it was a very very interesting matchup. But yeah, Dallas moves on in four. And then over on the other side of the bracket here, we had Edmonton and Vancouver. This one went in seven, and it was looking very good for Vancouver. I believe they were up. Uh, they were up. No, they were never up. They were up three. No, they were up 3-2 at one point, but yeah, Edmonton just absolutely exploded offensively in Game Six, and then just Vancouver was completely shut down offensively. I mean, they were uh, they had 13 shots on goal at the end or in the middle of the third period in Game Six. I mean, they just looked awful offensively. Um, and what was crazy about Game Seven last night was Vancouver. They could get the puck in the zone, and then as soon as they got it in the zone, they just could not keep it in the zone. They kept having bad passes that got the puck out of the offensive zone, so they had to all tag up and go back in, and it was just a mess for them. But they were able to come back. They were down 3-0 late in the third period, and they came back, but it wasn't enough, and they lost that game 7-3-2. Edmonton's going to have their work cut out for them, though. Dallas has so much more depth, and Dallas just played a team that might not have as much offensive depth as Edmonton has, but they have more defensive depth in Colorado than what Edmonton has, and so I think Dallas is just going to have a field day with one, the poor goaltending that they have in Edmonton, and just the fact that they don't have a lot of depth defensively either, and a lot less than what Colorado just had. So if Dallas can do what they did literally all year long and just control the pace of the game, I could see Dallas winning this in six, but I'm pretty sure this series will go in seven.
Yeah, man, I'd love to. I know we always are like, screw the Canadian teams, and Dallas is probably the better team. I just want to see McDavid win one, man. But I think I am going to roll with Dallas here. I think they just got the more complete team. Like you said, goaltending is going to be a tough assignment here. Dallas just beat Colorado, and they also beat Vegas. So, man, pulling for McDavid, but I do think Dallas is going to win.
Yeah, and the other thing is I really don't want Edmonton to win because Ken Holland is their GM, and he fucking is the reason why the Red Wings are in the pit of despair. So yeah, fuck Edmonton. But no, I mean, just matchup wise, I think Dallas, analytically, every meaningful stat, Dallas is a lot better than Edmonton. And Edmonton gives up a lot of high danger chances. Dallas gives up some of the least amount. Granted, if you kind of compare it to the playoff field, um, obviously they're nowhere near like a Washington or the Islanders in the sense that they have obviously played more games, so they're going to give up more, anyways. But just every meaningful stat and meaningful analytic has Dallas heavily favored, and it reflects obviously on the betting lines as well for Dallas. But I think Edmonton will put up a good fight because Draisaitl and McDavid, they're the most lethal duo in probably hockey history at this point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I just think Dallas, the way they're able to control the play, you know, every single game against every single opponent that they've faced this entire season and the postseason. Yeah, I just think Dallas will win this series in six or seven. Moving on to the Eastern Conference here, and this is where it kind of got interesting. Florida beat Boston in six, and Boston showed up for game one, game two, game three, game four. Florida just completely shut Boston down. Boston was just nowhere to be found in games 2 and 3. But Boston came back. They won Game 5, and then Florida, yeah, winning Game 6. It was a crazy game, crazy series, but I just think Boston's age was really, really showing, and goddamn, the Florida offense is just so ridiculously good. I mean, they have, elite scoring in their first three lines. Defensively, they are one of the best teams statistically, and playoff Sergei Bobrovsky is absolutely insane, and this is going to be the greatest goaltending matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals because New York, Igor Shesterkin, absolutely just insane in this series against Carolina. New York went up 3-0 in this series, and then Carolina won the next two, and people were talking, oh boy, here comes the reverse sweep, and nope. Game 6, New York just absolutely unable to let Carolina do anything, and Shesterkin was standing on his fucking head there in Game 6, and New York just beat the brakes off of Carolina in that Game 6, and so yeah, like I said, this Eastern Conference is going to be wild, these conference finals, because it's going to be, you got two very elite offenses with very physical playing defenses with elite goaltending on both ends. I mean, these teams are about as even can get. Analytically, they are basically split 50-50 on the meaningful stats. So this is going to be an absolutely brutal series that's definitely going to go 7 games, and that kicks off tomorrow night for these conference finals. But man, this is going to be one hell of a battle because, like I said, these teams offensively super super deep. Goaltending is elite right now. Defensive side, they give up a decent amount of high danger chances, but that said, they still play very well-rounded defense. And man, they play physical as all hell. So this is going to be one brutal matchup.
Yes, it's going to be brutal. I think it starts first with goaltending. Igor versus Bobrovsky. Like, what a matchup that's going to be. Like, and the offenses, man. So, like, looking like, Sam Reinhart had, he was second in goals. Panarin was top 5 in both points and goals. Like, both sides just have lethal weapons, man, that can score. But there's also elite goaltending. So, like you said, I think it goes 7 games. I'm pulling for Florida. I hope that Florida advances more than New York, but I wouldn't be shocked if New York does it too.
Yeah, I want Florida. Florida's kind of like the Timberwolves in a way. They're always that meme of a team, um, but they're finally having success, and it's great to see. And obviously, as Detroit fans, we hate other original 6 teams, which means we hate the Rangers. And I would not be shocked to see the Rangers win this series, but I believe Florida, if I remember correctly, has home advantage in Game 7. Yeah, no, the Rangers have home advantage in this series, but if Florida can steal one of those games on the road, maybe even that Game 7, man, this is gonna be such a good series. It is gonna be such a good series, and it's either gonna be a lot of goal scoring or very very little goal scoring in these games, just because of the goaltender battle, or because these offenses are both super elite. You could see the Rangers and Panthers just running up the score on each other, and see 5-6 goals apiece in every single game. It's going to be such an interesting matchup, and I am all for it. But yeah, not go Rangers, go Panthers.
Yes, sir.
So with that said, guys, Thursday, not sure what our plan is yet for that, but yeah, it's almost the end of both the NHL and NBA playoffs. It's Things are kind of winding down. NFL, there's nothing really to report on right now. MLB's in that mid-May phase of just like
Yeah.
meh baseball. Nothing really matters right now. But we'll figure out what we're gonna do on Thursday's episode, and we'll kind of just go from there. But rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you want to see from us. Of course, check out our YouTube page. We're gonna keep growing this thing, man. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Thursday.